Max, what's your best childhood memory?
Oh, I have a lot, but what comes to mind is the day we were about maybe say 13, 14, and we got word that hey, there's some tuber apples down there where the fire station has been built. And so Kevin Krauts and Donovan Krauts, those twins, hey, funny characters. So they decide to lead the whole procession, and they ran ahead of us. And so they were charging down the steep hill, and you know, as they were running down, they were yelling, "Manners, sun apples!" Now we also were doubling up behind them, but we met them halfway, coming back up with a speed. How? Next minute, even as they pass us, they yell, "Manners, bees!" Hey, it was a funny thing because everybody got stung, and the way it happened, you should have seen the speed with which as they got there and they turned back. And you know, it was one of the funny moments in my childhood. And then, well, of course, you find you as you're growing up, you get a love for certain things, and yeah, dancing. Oh, hey, that for me, it's one place that.
Which part of the dancing started, like in which year, like when you really reached your let's say a point that you realized that dancing, like how did it become the dancing?
Okay, you see, in my hometown, Hammersdale, there that time breakdance was in, and so I was good at breakdance coming from the colored community because we had moved from Hammersdale into Marin Ridge, and so in the colored community, breakdance is the thing. And so when I went for the holiday to visit my granny, doing my thing with breakdance, and I saw these guys doing a dance that I haven't seen before, which was a spansula. And I really took a loving for it, and I started doing it. And then when I came back to Marin Ridge, the first group I danced for was a group called, what was these guys? It was Leonard Houston and them. I think it was the Manhattans, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, and so I danced with those guys. And
was it like Clinton Schultz and them?
No, not Clinton Schultz and them.
Just yeah. Wenties and them?
No, not Wenties and them.
Okay.
My mistake here, my memory is coming back. You must understand now, we old. Yeah. The LA Kids. Late Nally, Paul September, Leonard Houston, Frank Houston. Yeah, those guys.
I remember Leonard, he had that bandana on his, a red bandana on his coat.
Oh yes, he did. And that red bandana, I think it used to give him some powers.
Beat Street, huh?
Beat Street. Oh, that guy could pop. That guy could pop. And so I joined him, and we had a nice time. But I think they weren't too serious about it. They were just guys who were just like killing time. Although it was fun, but I was more serious. And so my brother-in-law right now, Mosh, right name Richard Maddens, they started a group called Crucity.
Oh, they started the group.
They started the group, but that group comprised of Mosh, Milton Couch, and Percy Young.
Oh, Percy was also part of it.
Percy was also part of the group, but I must say, in the end, it only ended up being Milton Couch and, of course, my brother Mush, who carried on with the dancing. And the first song they danced for, I remember it vividly, was Rock the House. Oh, you know, even just watching them practicing, just the beats alone, it did something. Unfortunately, because of my upbringing, I wasn't allowed to go to the Joels at the time. And so they went, and I could only...
So when you say Joels, you mean the club?
The clubs, yes. And I could only be excited based on what they were telling me, obviously because I've seen them practicing and hearing, you know, how it went.
So basically what you're saying is everything of this was like new to you.
Very much new to me.
And you were like raw to this whole atmosphere and change.
Hey, it did something, because it was only when I got the opportunity to dance with them the first time, and the interaction that you get from the crowd, even as you do your moves, and the crowd enjoys the particular move that you're doing as part of your sequence, and the yelling, the screaming, it just does something to you that I couldn't, comprehend. But it was something that I really enjoyed.
But I think that was the time you fell in love with this kind of music, especially, and the dance moves, I guess.
Oh, for sure.
That's when you fell in love with dance.
For sure. Yeah.
And then thereafter, being with Crush City and the few groups that you probably admired in the district, what was the main aim in the community when it came to like variety shows and like stuff like that you really enjoyed? Let's go back to the high school days where you were concerts.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, you all were the best group in Melbourne at the time.
At the time, yeah. But you see, at the time, there were other groups, and there was Crush Groove. And you see, those guys, what I liked about them was that they were initially a group that used to mime, and slow pieces used to also do something for me. And so I was caught between my love for fast dancing and my love for doing slow sequences. And so in that same period, whilst dancing with Crush City, I got the opportunity to dance with a group called New Edition. That group comprised of myself, Anthony Sensui, commonly known as Nino, Paul September, as well as the late Darren Fontaine, whom I also danced with at Crush City. And I tell you, like I said, I was torn between the two, the slow pieces and the fast sequences. And so I said, in the end, why can't I just do both? And so sometimes you'd find I'd be dancing with Crush City, times I would be dancing with New Edition. But I remember one particular concert there at the high school, and we were doing the song by New Edition, 1,000 Miles Away. And so even as we're doing that sequence, there's a guy in our community by the name of Honored Payne. For him to run on the stage and take photos as if we are the actual artists doing the song, that really did something to me, because it made me feel like what we were doing, it was really something that we were doing with excellence, even in New Edition.
Nice. And then as time went by, when you say Crush City, like Darren Fontaine and then Lenny Boy.
Yes.
So when did they join with I think it's Dodo now? Dodo goes with the name of?
Wellington Boys.
So when did you all merge?
Okay. You see, with regards to Wellington Boys, Wellington belonged to a group where, if memory serves me well, it was himself, Ralph Innes, and my man Speedy Boy. Bradley O'Reilly, yes, he's the one. And they mimed a song by the late Ricardo and friends, I Love You Daddy.
Wow.
And
so those guys were miming?
They were miming.
Oh.
Like I say, that time variety shows were really variety shows, in that you had acting, you had dancing, you had miming, you had plays, etc. And so it was only later on, modeling, you name it. It was only later where the variety shows was only about groups, dance groups burning each other. Yeah, but anyway, getting back to how Wellington Boys, commonly known as Dodo, came into Crush City, was that later on, my brother-in-law, Moses Maddens Richard, aka Mosh, he left the group, and so Milton Couch was alone. And so me, having been with them practicing, I said, hey, you know what, let us join together and continue this Crush City thing. And then, of course, Darren was dancing for a group called Meadow Jam. And, everything's just flowing. That group comprised of the late Michael Samuels, Wayne Herzer, and of course, Wayne Herzer, yes, Darren Fontaine, and Joseph Ramatula.
Joseph was right.
Yes, Joseph Ramatula, he could dance himself. And so it didn't go too well. And me looking at it, I said, you know what, Darren would be somebody that I would love to work with. Of course, well, we grew up together in our childhood.
Take the best, that's what you're saying.
Oh, well, that was, even like now, it's a cutthroat world. Even then it was the same. And so we brought Darren on board, and then we brought Wellington on board. And then that's how Crush City came about. and we dance, and you know, we set stages alight. It was very fine, you know, to mix with other groups from Wentworth, Newlands, Sydenham. Yeah,